All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Doggin It, presented by Diamond Bird Dogs. I've got a good friend with me here, Tripp Hodges. We both graduated from the WELIM Wildlife Enterprise Management major at Auburn University. We both also worked together at Orvis for a stint of time, and now we're doing our own things. But I brought him back on. He's been all over the country wing shooting, has had a big role in the industry in terms of guiding. He's got his own company now we'll talk about too a little bit in the future down the line, and he's just a really interesting character. You know, he's a very interesting character. But
interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. We got his black lab out here, Sadie, with us. I don't know if we can see her or not, but she's being real good, just laying at our feet. And we're going to talk a little bit about Tripp's background in college, pre-college, college, and then after college, post-grad, which is crazy. We've been out for some years now, which is hard, it's weird to think about. But
what year did you graduate?
Like 20.
Were you 21 or into 20?
The semester after you.
So, let's see. I was the end of. I was the end of 20, I believe.
So I was 21.
So you would have been first that spring semester of 21?
Yeah. Yep. I had one class that they did not let me take to graduate that one year. They wanted to scrape a little bit more money from the Thomas family. Yeah. So they held me back one more semester because they only offered it in the spring. But that's how it goes, man. Yeah. That's college, And, the funny thing is that in the industry we're in, you really – you don't need, or in the outdoor industry, in the wildlife industry, you don't necessarily need a degree, and I guess in any industry you don't. But it really, I'm glad. What did you switch from when you switched into wildlife? Because it came on like you were probably a sophomore when you switched. Because I was a junior.
I was a sophomore. I was at Orvis full time, and then decided to get my general studies degree at CAC. While I was at Orvis, and had I think one or two classes left, and decided that I wanted to go to Auburn. I saw the WELIM program that it was going to be, starting up. Went over there and met with, let's see, who was it at the time? Miss Jody, I think, Kennedy.
Yeah,
I think that's her name.
That was the advisor.
Yeah, that was the advisor at the time. Met with her, and then Wendy Franklin.
Yeah.
Wendy Franklin was there. That's who it was to begin with. And then Jody took her spot until they hired somebody else.
Right.
And then decided that's where I wanted to be. I had two classes to finish at Southern Union. That was going to be kind of the end of my general studies. And then I went straight into the WELIM program, which was, I think it was worth it, don't you?
Oh, well, that's what I was saying. You don't necessarily need a degree in anything in terms of, especially for the outdoors industry. And with anything, I'm sure it's just experience over a lot, but definitely gave us a head start in things. And a lot of it covered a lot of different aspects in the industry, hospitality, the wildlife management side, the business side. So covered a lot of different subjects, I guess you could say. And I definitely think it was worth it. I was a fisheries major, and I was set. I thought I was going to be.
I didn't know that.
I thought I was going to be an oyster farmer, dude. I was dead set on oyster farming in the Panhandle down there in Florida.
How things have changed.
yeah. But I had 4 bird dogs by the time I had 4 short hairs by the time I graduated, and I had 3 when I made the switch. I think I had 4 when I made the switch to Wildlife Enterprise Management, and because I was fisheries, and then they brought that on, and I was like, man, that sounds super cool. Yeah. I talked to my parents about it because I knew it'd put me back because I was already a junior, right? And it put me back 2 years, but I'm very happy I did it. And it was really cool. We learned a lot of stuff, some information I still remember. Right. Most of it I don't. Yeah. But the connections we got from it, that's the biggest thing, and where it took me, what path it took me on, So that's really why I'm glad I switched, but that was cool.
I guess we kind of entered it in the same aspect, but whereas I left Orvis to come back to school, and you left school and went to Orvis, or did you go? Where did you go right after school?
Orvis, yeah. Okay, so I was working part time while I was in college with Orvis.
So we both kind of just switched it, and then went back.
And then we came, we were both there full time for a while after college, and then we both ended up doing our own thing. Yeah. At the end of the day.
Both ended up back in Auburn.
Back in Auburn.
How about that?
Yeah.
Driving an hour to work.
Yeah,
to
for
then,
real.
Then to back it back down to 30
yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
It's much better.
Heck yeah.
Much better down here.
But before we get too far into college and whatnot, I want to hear a little bit about did you grow up hunting, fishing, bird dogs, wing shooting? What was your favorite thing to do as a kid? Maybe not your favorite thing to do as a kid, but maybe what was your favorite outdoor activity as a kid? And did it always involve dogs, or when did you get into dogs? And talk us through pre-college. Talk about high school and what you did there.
I think kind of like growing up, I was always like an outdoors kid. My parents didn't really let me have the PlayStations and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of forced out of the house, and it all started with a BB gun and shooting squirrels and birds and
and
in
brother.
the neighborhood. Yeah, and so like there for a small amount of time, squirrels and birds were not safe in the neighborhood. But growing up, I met John McKinney.
Yeah.
And hanging out with John and doing what he does.
And his crazy granddad.
His crazy granddad, Ronnie, he would take us bird hunting.
Right.
And once Ronnie figured out that John and I could shoot shotguns, it was pretty much over from there.
Yeah.
He got us into bird hunting. He took us bird hunting and then sent us to like the 4-H and started getting us to shoot down at Red Eagle.
So you've known the McKinneys for a long time.
As long as I can remember.
Yeah.
Really.
I got you. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Ronnie that's kind of how I'm so close to Ronnie, I guess at Orvis, is he started taking us to Selwood when we were, we couldn't drive. We were nowhere near being able to drive. We were probably 12, 13 maybe.
And I remember when I first met you and I was messing around part-time at Orvis, Ronnie would let you use his dogs, which it takes a lot of trust for somebody, and now I know why. It takes a lot of trust for somebody to give you their dogs,
It wasn't that easy. We had to scoop some shit, or excuse me, I guess we're on.
No, that's
on
all right.
We had to clean his kennels out. I mean, he didn't. It wasn't all for free.
Right.
He put us to work,
right.
and those dogs don't get a bath. They're strictly hunting dogs.
Yeah.
And oh God, it was. I remember it like it was kind of yesterday, but. It was that's kind of how we got started. Got into bird hunting. He took us duck hunting and all that kind of stuff. And I deer hunted a little bit growing up, but mainly it was bird hunting with Ronnie. And then John and we would go and shoot pheasants at Selwood and that kind of stuff. And then it kind of just progressed from there.
Yeah. I'll say this: if anybody does go hunt at Orvis at Purcell Farms, Ronnie McKinney, he'll give you a good time. He's a character. You'll at least, I don't know if you'll shoot any birds, but at least you'll leave laughing. So.
Oh yeah, you'll leave. I won't ever forget the time like growing up. He was taking us, and so like I don't know. I guess there's not a tree behind us, but there was this tree in the middle of the field, and it had a low hanging limb.
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie's dogs, and we all know, are not. They're professionals, but they sometimes don't hold a point because it's all
like
pen raised
most. It's like most guide dogs, in the pen raised bird.
And so
he's good with it. People getting up close to him as long as they hold point for you to shoot.
Yeah, gone. So this bird, we flush a covey, or the dog flushes a covey, we shoot, and this bird goes and lands in this tree. And Ronnie kept telling us, like, this dog will climb the tree after these birds. No kidding. We looked up, and that dog was halfway up the side of the tree and perched up on the limb, the lowest hanging limb. It might have been 6 to 8 feet. I mean, but the dog had to get a running start. Got up on the limb.
What was it, a pointer?
Yeah, a dang pointer. An English pointer. I mean, it just up in the tree, and Ronnie's like, y'all didn't know I had coon dogs, did you? We're like, no. That's not how it's supposed to work.
He's got some tricks up his sleeve, man.
So, I mean, I will never forget that time. And we were down there. That was probably one of the best memories we've had bird hunting, like growing up. But that kind of just progressed into, we got into high school. We were on the shooting team, John and I. John's much better than I am, but I was able to hang with him. We ended up winning some trophies and that kind of stuff. But we progressed from there, and then Ronnie called us, and he said, hey, there's this new place down the road called Orvis. We were still in high school, and he said, they need people to come work. Y'all know how to clean birds. I mean, it's going to be a perfect job for y'all. You're pretty good at grunt work.
Right.
Well, we were under 18, so we couldn't do anything that was fun. We had to clean birds, and we had to pick up shells and all that. Couldn't climb ladders, anything like that. And so when we did that, that kind of opened the door for Orvis. We were part-time in high school, and then we both started working full-time in 2015.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it all progressed into the
And
you're
still an Orvis model part-time.
Yeah, part-time. Yeah.
Big sexy.
still going up there. We did that shoot not too long ago.
That was like a week ago.
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot for the dogs were on point, and this cameraman would get up in line with the hunters and say, "Look, y'all shoot out front. I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna video these birds flying up."
Right.
I mean, he got up. The birds are here, and he's like right here. Sees the flush, goes up, and then you used to see us take the birds. But it was really cool.
Yeah, those shoots are always challenging, but really fun when you get it down right. And that's a big part of my company is content. It's education and education through entertainment. We've got a really good camera guy helping us out, and Mitchell Carr. And Hatchie Productions is awesome up in Opelika.
Right.
I have been tinkering around with the stuff. It's really fun for me because it's all new.
But he's much better than you are.
Man, come on.
You've got to have him on here.
I know. But it's fun stuff, and it's something cool because it's not really. For guys like us, it's not necessarily, and for a lot of people, it's not about the kill. It's about the pursuit, and capturing the pursuit and those moments and looking back on those moments.
And explaining it. It's not about like going out there, let's kill 100 birds.
Yeah.
It's about, hey, you remember that time the dog pointed, we flushed up, we shot 2, and the dog brought back 2 in its mouth instead of just one? That's
about those cool moments.
That's what it's,
Who
what
cares
it's about.
killing?
It's not about going out and killing a bunch of birds, but nowadays it's social media gets kind of portrayed to be.
Yeah, it
it's
does.
About quantity
and we're trying
instead
to,
of what.
Yeah, we're trying to change that and everybody we get in for Diamond Bird Dogs, client wise and whatnot. I don't necessarily weed them out. Usually weed them out over the phone. Like what are you in for? If somebody is like, I want to take my dog out to a preserve every a couple days a week and kill as many birds as I can over that dog. I'm like, okay, well, and I talk expectation wise. All of our clients, because again, we a big part of it is education. I'm a people trainer, and I also mess around with dogs. Dogs are going to come around. You really got to work on the client in terms of their expectations for the dogs, what they're looking out of it. The best client you can get is the ones who are saying, I want a dog to be able to go out there and have a good time with them, right? I want to have a good time with my dog. They don't say anything about killing birds. They want their dog to be as good as it can be, but at the end of the day, they're focused on having a fun family hunting dog, family hunting companion,
Exactly.
And that's why we're in the niche we're in, because they have a good mindset about that. If you're too focused on killing birds, it takes away from. I don't see how people do it, but it is. It's a big,
Yeah, and there's. I mean, you could look at it 2 different ways too. I mean, you could look at it as like Ronnie. I mean, that's his job. That's what he does. Right. He's got to have those dogs that perform in front of the customers, not necessarily to these expectations, but he's got his own expectations of what they need to do.
Right.
And as long as they fit that, that's it's a little bit different.
And most clients who are hunting at different preserves, like anywhere, usually don't have their own dogs. They don't bring their own dogs, so they're out there. Most of them are out there to kill. Some of them are out there to have a good time, and they're all out there to have a good time, but just for the camaraderie. But a lot of them are out there having a competition with their buddy, killing birds and everything like that. So it is, it's definitely on those guides to put them on as many birds as they're out in the field. But anywho, all right. So let's see where we're at. You went up till Orvis. Ronnie got you into Orvis. Makes sense. You're about as crazy as he is. Yeah. And let's see. So you were already full time, but you started Wildlife Enterprise, and I remember you were like the show kid for Wildlife Enterprise early on.
We kind of like got in there, and they didn't really have. They had a couple of us. Who was it? Stuckey was one of them.
Yeah, Chase Stuckey.
He had a lot of experience.
And he was out here at Auburn Oaks Farm for a while.
He was for a little bit.
Yeah.
Stuckey was one that had experience. Ben Ingram had a lot of experience coming from. He was at Selwood also. His dad still got at Selwood.
Is he at Alabama Power now?
No, he is working for Thompson Cat.
Okay.
He's out in Pensacola right now.
Oh, I got you. You told me that because you were talking about Blackwater, WMA.
We just got back from there.
Heck yeah, turkey hunting.
Yesterday. What's today? Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, today's Tuesday. We got back yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, Florida public ground's a lot different than Alabama public ground.
I love it. North Florida, I love it.
it's really cool to get down there and see the different things. But like the problem with that is the difference in Florida and Alabama. Alabama, they'll lock the gates.
Yeah.
Florida, anybody from hikers, trail riders, mountain bikers, they can just ride out there and do whatever. And we had a couple of instances where we were 75 yards from a bird, and people drive up and say, "Hey, how are y'all doing?"
Dang.
We were doing great until you pulled in here. I mean, it was it was fun, but it's all about going and seeing somewhere different. I mean, you go down there and see sandy soil, you don't see that up here.
Not too much. Once you get into Georgia, where the fall line is, below the fall line, where, and I'm going to screw this up and I'm going to get ridiculed for it, but I know the fall line. Do you know what the fall line is?
No.
So the fall line is where the ocean used to be back in like the Mesozoic era or something. Is it Mesozoic? It's something like that. But some era, dinosaur.
Way out
of the dinosauric era.
Yeah, where the T-Rexes were out.
It was the T-Rex era. But that's where the ocean came up to, and so that's why you get a lot of sand in it. So once you get east of Columbus, Georgia, a lot of sand hills out there, and North Florida obviously, and all over the place. But that's the fall line. But anyway, it is really cool. In terms of habitat, and these dogs, y'all were down there for turkey, so you weren't using the dog, right?
Right. Exactly.
Which I'd love to do turkey hunting with the dog, but that's more so fall turkeys.
Yeah.
And I'm not a turkey hunter. That's what C.J. Watt explained to me, that the people use boykins for turkeys and whatnot. That's a fall time thing.
And I didn't know that. I always read it growing up. Whenever you read the new
I was asking if he
regulations
wanted
that
to do it in the
out.
spring. He was like, "No, you only do that in the fall."
Yeah.
I don't know what.
I don't know what it entails. Well, I say I know what it entails.
Right.
You surround them kind of like a driven pheasant shoot, but you go and flush them up, I guess.
Yeah, you send the dog in to flush them up back into the trees, and then you get down below and you get that talk. That's why the boykins were really designed for, because you tuck them into your shirt or whatever. You put a canvas over them and they stay still, and then you wait for those turkeys to pitch back down. And I don't know. Again, I'm not a turkey hunter, so I don't know. The through and through of it, but that's what it is. And apparently, in the fall time, it's the best to do that.
I never knew that.
It'd be cool we might have to do that on Wings and Things at some point, maybe in the fall. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
But our new hunting series next season, check it out. Let's see. Oh, but I wanted to talk about you going to overseas, right? You going to England. So was that in? Did you do that while you were in Wildlife Enterprise, or was that beforehand?
So I got down.
And that was through somebody at Orvis, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a member at Orvis. Lord, I can see his face, but I can't remember his name right now.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, he got me in contact. We did a pheasant hunt, and a driven pheasant hunt at Orvis. And that's, you always read like what they do overseas, but it's very difficult to understand like how they do it versus how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one place over here that does it exactly how they do it over in England. But so anyways, long story short,
Idaho?
Blixton.
Yeah. In Idaho.
Yeah, and I think it's in Idaho.
One of my dog handlers worked for them.
Okay.
Really
that's
cool stuff.
Super sweet.
Yeah.
Because their videos, they have everything that England had. But,
yeah. Well, they have the terrain to do it, too.
And that's the biggest thing, because you got to have that. Like down here, we have maybe one giant mountain, but we don't have that rolling terrain where those birds and the beaters can surround the birds and push them over the hill.
Right.
But anyways, I got in contact with him. Got put in connections with gamekeeper over there. He was all for it. He was like, "Man, I love."
Explain what a
doing.
gamekeeper is.
Okay, so a gamekeeper over in England, they basically hatch the eggs, grow the birds, release the birds, and then take care of the birds all the way throughout hunting season.
And they're like a game warden.
They're basically, so like over in England, you have estates, and estates make their own rules. So on this estate, one family grows up there. They've been there for, since the 1800s or longer in some places. And they basically have a large tract of property. This place was 11 or 12,000 acres, and it was fully surrounded in a Stone Age, like stone wall that was hand done all the way around. And in the corners, like they had, like I call them castles over there. I got in trouble for calling them castles, but they go up and they're surrounded. And you have little peepholes to where you could shoot out, if medieval stuff was going on or whatever. But so, anyways, it was cool to see that was all hand done. But he takes care of the whole property. He's kind of the game warden because they don't have game wardens
Yeah.
over there. If you own the land, you own the wildlife on the land.
And that's
so,
a lot of Europe too.
I didn't know that.
Because
Germany,
I know Germany's like it. I just had a guy who's a big time. He's hunted a lot over there in Germany. He just picked up his small Munsterlander. He's been telling me all about the gamekeepers over there. It's the same type deal. And when they have a dog, it's a lot of Munsterlanders over there apparently, or at least in his experience. And so the dog went everywhere with the gamekeeper.
Yep.
You know,
their dogs go everywhere. There are no collars over there. The dogs are very steady to wing shot, fall.
Right.
I mean, the Labradors, they don't call them labs, call them Labradors.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lady over there, badass.
Yeah.
I'm talking about put like a lot of the guys over here and some of the guys over there, put them straight out of this thing has been going off the hook all day long. But, they'd put them, I mean,
put them to shame.
Put them to shame.
I know my wife does me, yeah.
You know,
that's what happens.
You have to get knocked back down a little bit just to so you stay even. But anyway, so over there, gamekeeper takes care of everything, and he's over all the beaters and how they run the hunts.
Right.
So over there, like I said, they hatch the birds, grow them to where they can survive out in the wild,
Mm-hmm.
and then they release them on the estate. And basically, all year long, they have to manage their numbers. So, like, if they have a 200 bird shoot, they've got to know, how many they take out and keep up with about how many they have.
Right.
Which is wild because there's thousands. Dang, Sadie. Go get them, dog. Hey, she's a trained attack dog, too.
Yeah.
Bet you didn't know that.
Trained snuggle dog's what she
Yeah.
is. Trained couch potato.
She's
There she goes, back down.
Making sure that grasshopper didn't get over.
Yeah, that grasshopper's in trouble. You better watch it.
So, but anyways, we get over there. They kind of teach us how they grow the birds, manage them, and then they have big rolling hills, and the beaters will get in a literal line around the hill, and the shooters will get like on this side of on the hill. They'll push the birds over the hill, and they'll kind of pitch off one by one, or they'll come off by the hundreds.
Yeah.
It depends on how many they wrangle up in that push.
Right.
And they'll push them up and over the hill, which is a little bit different than how we do it over here. But we don't have the setup that they do over there.
No, it's a lot more to get the same feel, but it's completely different.
Right.
Most preserves you go to, well, all preserves. If there's preserve in the name, it's all farm birds.
Right.
That's what it is. Unless they have some sort of mixture of wild bird, but that's rare.
Right.
If preserve's in the name, then you're hunting farm raised or pen raised birds, and it's really just to simulate what a wild bird hunt would be like.
Yeah.
Whether it's over in England or in America.
Yeah.
It's more about kind of the culture of bird hunting and getting a taste for it, right? Having a good time, and at the end of the day, it's guaranteed. Wild bird hunting, there's nothing guaranteed about wild bird hunting.
There's a lot more that goes into it, a lot more that can go wrong.
Exactly.
The way that we do preserve hunts over here, some of it can go wrong, but once you got it down to a science, you're pretty much, if you stick to that and you hold your standards, you can perform put on a really good hunt.
Right.
That's really close to what they do over there, but it's once you get those dogs and your guys that are working the hunts, once they know how to do it, it's pretty much the same way every time.
Oh yeah, it's very controlled. Very controlled. And that's good for people who are paying to go out there and experience that. Right. That's what they're paying for.
Two completely different worlds.
Absolutely.
And that the people that do that, that's great. I mean, you've guided those hunts. I've guided those hunts off and on. But once you get into wild bird hunting, like Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, you get out there and
hey, I've had a great season around here.
Yeah,
Alabama, Georgia,
and I
Florida.
didn't know that it was that good over here because
well, it's
Ronnie
taken me years
all
to build up all the
was
spots.
getting the dogs in shape. I didn't know that.
Right? Yeah.
So he was getting our big asses that were little honey bun eaters. We were walking with the dogs. That's all we were doing.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it wasn't even season.
Right.
So we thought that we were out there like wild bird hunting, and no.
Right.
But anyways,
we had a fantastic season down here for wild birds,
Yeah,
that a good day is finding one covey.
Yeah.
A good day is finding one covey.
Right.
We had Mitch came out with us to film that pilot for Wings and Things, and we I don't know if we definitely didn't get all the coveys on camera, but we got 7 coveys that weekend. We got 6 coveys on Sunday, one day, which is crazy. That's a fantastic wild bird day in the Southeast. So
that's more than a lot of wild bird hunters around here are able to get in almost a season.
Yeah.
Except for there's one preserve down in Rockford that all they do is wild bird hunt, and they do it the old school way. They still wear the white. They don't wear orange. They wear white vests.
Don't they still do that over in not Pine Hill?
There's South Carolina one.
No, Georgia.
Is it Southwind?
That lady who is
Pine Hill Plantation.
Huh? No.
Is it Southwind or Pine Hill?
No, it's what's her name? She does the cockers, Sunsage, cockers and whatnot. Todd is in good with them.
It's not Raglan or Raglan.
No.
That's out west.
A lot. Oh, Fishing Creek, I think. Fishing Creek. Yeah, they do the white. They did the white.
They do the
I don't know if they still do, but they did. They said there's something with the blood stains.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were in school, they did.
When we were in school, they did, and that's.
But that's the old school. Yeah, it's white. Yeah.
It was super cool to
white instead of orange.
To see all that because they still do it off horseback. They still do. They've got a lab that works with the pointers. The pointers will hold their point. The lab will go and retrieve it. Which you'll have to explain that to me too because I don't fully understand. Whenever you are training a bird dog to do what you want it to do, a steady to,
steady until release,
and still until release, don't you kind of give the dog, kind of like giving a dog a treat, that retrieve for finding the bird, or is that like?
Yes and no. So and this happened in a conversation the other day. So there are bird dogs. A true bird dog, by definition, the old bird dog is a bird finding dog, just pointing, no retrieving.
Okay.
Right? So somebody asked me the other day, we've been to plantations where none of these dogs are allowed to touch birds. They just point. How do they get reward? Because my whole thing is a reward at the end of the day is going to be that their treat is going to be retrieving a bird. Right. And it is, but the stimulation, just like us, the pursuit makes us feel really good, not just harvesting, right? So the dog too, being out there, the stimulation of hunting is just as rewarding to them, and finding a bird and just being locked down, that's just as rewarding to them as anything. And then you use your hands, touch them, praise them. I'm a big physical touch guy. So you give a dog a bunch of lovins.
Yeah, you are.
Jesus. You give a dog a bunch of love after it done a good job, it doesn't necessarily have to get a bird in its mouth. Right. A lot of times when we're doing, and I'm pointing out there because that's where the fields are out here at Auburn Oaks, but whenever we're out there steadying a dog up, half the birds we throw for them, I tell people, if you're training them yourself, it looks like you're watching money fly, but think of it more as an investment into your dog because those dogs have to watch birds fly off to become steady, right? They can't always get a reward, or they'll always expect a reward, and then they'll start trying to get in there and get one, So a lot of it is just praise. Good job, good girl, good boy, praising them, loving them up, jumping around, letting them jump around. So that's just as much a reward, I want to say, as getting a bird in their mouth, the stimulation of the hunt. So
see, that's one thing I didn't really know because, like I said, they do it the complete old school way. The pointers, they hold point.
Exactly.
The labs go.
Right.
They retrieve the birds, and I mean, this particular owner is not a very good shot, so the lab doesn't really get a whole lot of work, but they still do a lot of good job.
Right.
Or they do a really good job of finding the birds, pointing them, and doing what they need to do. But it's just really cool to understand how they used to do it back in the old days versus what it's grown to now because the bird numbers took a little bit of a dip, and now we're working to get them back. So.
Yeah, and it's never, and that's something really I'm glad we did in college is study the wildlife history and management in order to try to get some of it back. It's never going to be what it was, ever. But we can, and it's going to take a ton of work. CJ said to me the other day when we were out hunting, it's a 100-year problem, right? The quail problem I'd go to because bobwhite quail, that's your native quail in the southeast. So it's a 100-year problem, and it's never going to be what it was, mainly because clean farming practices aren't going away. You're never going to get rid of, that monster. So, and, we don't even need to dip into that because that'll take an hour,
we don't have time for all that.
But let's quickly go back to England. So you were there. You talked about the gamekeepers.
Yeah.
What did you do there on a day-to-day basis? Why were you there, right?
So I was over there to shadow the gamekeeper. Mm-hmm. Basically,
okay, cool.
I did everything that he did and learned why he was doing what he was doing.
Right.
And he explained anything from, handling your customers at the lunch table all the way to handling the beaters and what line that they were going to run, all the way around whatever drive that they were working on that time.
Yeah.
And one of the craziest things over there that I kind of learned was when you're over there, they're more about the setup and what we're doing. They're not necessarily about like how many they can kill and how fast they can do it. They're about setting it up to where the hunters or the shooters, they call them shooters over there, and like what they can do as far as seeing what kind of shots. So like whenever they fly over, they want to present them with the coolest shots like imaginable, even if they are 100 yards up in the air. They're about the pursuit, and that was really cool because over there they're kind of like old school what we are pushing for over here, versus like over here it's about numbers and how many posts we can make on social media about
tailgate pics, exactly. The pile pics
instead of
after duck shoots,
instead of like the actual pursuit of the hunt, so it was really cool to understand like they're all about the shooters and the dogs and the presentation versus how fast and how quickly we can do it. And they did everything from the beginning all the way to serve lunch and dinner, and then send them on their way.
Gotcha.
And they had people come in from the U.S. and they had locals that were over there that would go on a shoot day with them.
And I think the drinking's a little more liberal over there than it is over here.
Gosh, they drank the whole day. And they gave me the funniest thing. So we got out of a drive, and the beaters were like, hey, Alabama boy, like come over here, like hang out with us instead of hanging out with the shooters. And so they give me a shot glass, and he's sending around like pouring shots and handing them out. I get mine. I was like, are y'all ready? They were like, yeah. I shoot mine. Boom. Straight to the dome. They're like, whoa, what are you doing? And I was like, you gave me a shot glass. Are we not gonna like drink it?
Yeah.
No, you're supposed to sip that. That's like expensive whiskey. You're not supposed to shoot
the
it.
Bama boy just started slugging them.
Boom, boom, and they're like, how many times can you do this? And I mean,
let's find out.
Yeah, we ran with it. It was cool,
God.
but it was a really cool experience. And he's asked me to come over here multiple times.
Yeah.
And they're trying to set that up, and I want to go back, but it's getting over there and spending a week over there is a little bit different because it takes you almost a day to fly over there, and a day to fly back. So getting over there in the middle of their hunting season it's kind of a struggle, especially for us over here because that's almost at the beginning of our hunting season and going into the winter months. So
gotcha. Well, we're gonna take a quick break to change out camera batteries, but we'll be right back.
Yep.
If you want to take your dog to the next level in the field and in the home, then you need to play a major part in their development. Nothing will create a stronger bond than putting in the time that allows you to grow and learn everything about them as you progress. In our development series, we focus on the family sporting dog. These are dogs who belong to loving families and individuals who also possess the ability to be skilled hunters in the field and water. We will explore how these dogs should be viewed, where to start, when to progress, and everything else that goes into developing a dog that will fit your lifestyle. When you become a member, you become a part of the DBD community, where people just like you are working hard at building a better dog. Gain access to professional information and learn from other members who are going through similar experiences. For the cost of sending your dog off for 1 month, you are buying unlimited access to knowledge that will help you reach and maintain your goals. Become a member today and let us help you get the most out of your dog's potential. Hey everybody, we're back from our break and we're talking, right now we're in England, right? So you went, what's all the different styles of hunting you did over there? You did some upland, you did some waterfowl, you did, did you do any, pointing dog stuff over there, or was it mostly driven stuff?
No, it was mostly driven, and then...
but they drive grouse too,
yeah,
right?
So they called, what did they call it? Red-legged partridge.
Right.
So I get over there, and we're on a red-legged partridge drive. And they're doing really well. I'm standing behind a peg, watching him shoot, and all of a sudden he knocks one down. Those things got a haul butt. Yeah, he knocks one down in front of us, and I go over there and pick it up. I'm like,
"What the heck is this?"
This is a chucker.
Yeah,
it's not a red-legged partridge.
Right.
And they're like, "No, this is a red-legged partridge. I've never heard of a chucker." And I'm like, I'm pretty positive
They're
it's
very
the same.
yeah.
It's the same
They're very
thing,
similar.
and they're really close. Come to find out. But,
yeah.
it was that was part of one of those kind of like they call them
Right.
red-legged partridges.
Like a lot of there's a lot of similarities
Labradors
too,
and
just
labs,
different. Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of similarities I feel like over there in wing shooting and everything. Then there's just different terminology, different lingo.
Well, that and like whenever we went on the duck hunt, we got done with a shoot day, and he picks me up and he's like, "You're gonna go with so and so, and I'm gonna do this. You're gonna go so and so. We're gonna go shoot ducks."
Yeah.
The gamekeeper's name's Jason Douglas, and so Jason's like, I'm going to send you over here, and you're going to go shoot those ducks and yada, yada, yada. Well, I get in the truck, and it's like a back-home Alabama redneck truck full of wheat in the back. I'm like, where are we going? It's about to be dark. And so we get over there, and it's a roost hole.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not illegal. And they're like, no, here's the gun. They give me 4 boxes of lead. I'm like,
just wait till the moon's out.
what are we doing?
And then we'll shoot.
Yeah, and so he's like, just hang out. They'll start flying in soon. I said, it's dark. He said, if you see a flash, it's a duck. Shoot the duck. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And so ducks start coming in, and there's 4 of us, and they just go to guns a-blazing. I'm like, I feel like I'm back at home. I mean,
no, he's joking. I
don't live anywhere near here or anything like that.
Tripp is also a semi-professional wildlife outlaw.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But growing up with Ronnie, that's a whole different story. But,
Ronnie McKinney, man, I'll tell you what,
he was impressed with how good we were able to shoot.
Y'all were just shooting in the moonlight over there.
We're shooting in the moonlight. You see fire coming out of the end of your gun.
And what kind of ducks are y'all killing? Is there different?
Green-winged teal and mallards.
Mallards. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's like,
God, I remember going up. We just had a dog demo up at Lake Oconee, Reynolds at Lake Oconee. We did a dog demo up there. It was really cool. It was their first game fair or field day, whatever they call it. But we were one of the demos, and there's a British guy running it out there. I think he's the GM out there for the sporting grounds. And he kept saying Mallard, and I was like, man, these people must eat that up. Who comes shooting? He's like, the clay going over the water is like a Mallard landing softly. And I was like, God, sounds good.
Oh goodness, but
Pretty
yeah,
cool.
it was.
So
cool.
it's the same kind of ducks.
Yeah, it's the same kind of ducks.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Is there any species over there of waterfowl that we don't? And I mean, like ducks, like
Mandarin wood duck.
Really?
They've
Over
got
there?
a Mandarin wood duck over there.
And then isn't it
over here? That's very, very rare that you'll find them.
Right.
And they had a banded one not too long ago. I don't know if you'd seen it or not, but they posted the band where it was banded overseas, and the thing ended up in the southeast over here.
No way.
Yeah, it was wild, like insane.
That's nuts.
It's kind of like that coyote thing that they put a radio tracker on one up in North Dakota or something. It was killed in Georgia. I mean, it was a
I
day.
didn't hear about that either.
If you looked it up, it was a day and like 12 hours if you were to drive a vehicle to that coyote or something.
Bear that went like
Ridiculous. Right. But it's really cool to know. But you would have never thought that that was
Mandarin
ducks
they look crazy.
Yeah.
But that's another duck we don't have over here.
Yeah. That
or not much.
That and I don't know what.
I'm sure they got some different type of geese, over there, and stuff like that.
Probably.
But it's relatively similar waterfowl.
Right. Okay. But So anyways, we did that.
Is there any type of limit?
No. So that goes back to what we were saying.
We're gonna have a lot of people looking into moving over there after this.
So they get over there, and if you own the land, you own the wildlife. So like down here, game wardens kind of make sure you're following rules and regulations.
Right.
Over there, the gamekeeper is in charge of all that. So he not only has to manage the pheasants, but he's got to manage everything that's over there. They have muntjac, which are little small deer about the size of Sadie. And they're non-native, I believe, over there. So the limit over there is you can kill as many as you want.
The limit over there is no limit.
Yeah, no limit.
Right.
And you shoot them however you want, however many you want. But then, like the ducks, they didn't really care about the ducks. All they cared about were the driven hunts because that's what brought their money to them.
Wow.
And that's what they worked for all year long. That was really cool.
So how did you, well, I guess, and I'll just ask you, I know you did, but was that very helpful? And, I know because I saw it because I worked with you, but you brought a lot of that, skill set and knowledge back to the States with Orvis and were able to handle, a big thing about working at any high-end preserve, like where we're at right now, like anywhere in the Southeast or all in the country, it's a lot about hospitality, how you talk to these people, how you present, the sport in itself. So that must have been a huge advantage for you, coming back and
really
learning
cool.
everything. Because everybody over here, they like to look at England as because they're the first people to do it, right?
Exactly.
So all this wing shooting stuff. So,
Right.
the base, everything we do over here, a lot of it is based off of what they do over there. So
We implemented a lot of that's used over here at Orvis also, which was really cool to kind of like be one of the front runners to kind of say, hey, well, this is what they do over there. Let's try one of these things over here. And
Right.
some of them didn't work. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's just how it goes. Like we said, the topo over there versus over here, how we
Yeah.
try to do the hunts, it's a lot different.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So there's things that you can do and that you can't do. And then drinking over here. We don't allow any drinking over here
Right.
while sounds like the AC just cut on. But we don't allow any of the drinking over there or over here
Right.
like they do over there.
Which,
they drink as soon as
That's
you get your
something
pegs.
I don't let, I don't play around with that either.
I don't agree with that either. But they do say that if they were to cut out the drinking, then they would lose a lot of their members.
Right.
So the way that they do it is as soon as you get to that point, and everybody knows what that point is, as soon as you get to that point, they just kind of say, they cut you off.
Right.
If you're being unsafe, they cut you off. As long as you're being safe, and they take safety very seriously.
Yeah.
But with alcohol involved.
Right.
So like it's completely different.
And everybody has mixed opinions on that.
Yeah.
Like even on a dove shoot, I'll definitely have a couple cold
Mm-hmm.
beers. On a dove shoot, and and people may think one way or the other on it, but it's just a matter of when it comes down to it, your limit. When you need to stop. What one or two cold beers versus somebody who's out there pounding them. Then you got to speak up and everything like that. But everybody's got their different opinion on that. First of all, sober or not, I only let a handful of people hunt behind my dogs with a gun. I'll let whoever wants to come out and watch, they can. Yeah. But I only let a handful of people that I know and trust
and that's our livelihood.
hunt with my dogs. Exactly. So, if I saw anybody wherever I've guided all over the place, if they were even touching alcohol, I'd be like, well, I'm not using my dog, so I'll still guide for you, but you got to find someone with dogs because I'm not using mine.
Exactly.
No way.
And that's like where you and I agree 100%. And that's not that we disagree on things, but like with alcohol involved, you never know what's going to happen. And
Absolutely.
You put your whole entire life, or the dog's whole entire life, into training them to do exactly what you need in the situation that you live for. That's if they're there to mess it up, you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and mistakes can happen easy enough without alcohol involved.
Exactly.
Something can happen. I don't care. The most let's see. The most worried I get over a hunt is when somebody comes out there and I start giving a safety speech and they say, "Oh man, it's all good. We've been doing this for 30 years. We're all good." That's when I'm like, "Okay, you're gonna mess up. Yeah. I know you're gonna mess up because you don't think you can mess up, right? Add some alcohol in that. Do what? Yeah,
we're quick to let them know too.
Yeah, absolutely. So add some alcohol in that, and so that's just it's a bad mixture, guns and alcohol, and especially guns and alcohol, other people, other dogs. But anyway, let's see. So. That's awesome. The angling experience must have been absolutely incredible. Not many people get to do that in their lifetimes. Even go over there and visit.
And it was really cool to stay. Like I stayed in a bed and breakfast on property, and like their menu items, their food items are a little bit different than ours. But other than that, it was really cool to not really leave. One of the family members passed away a week before I got there, so they had to do this big funeral. Well, they shut down all shoots that day, and I couldn't be on property. No insiders could be on property, and so
outsiders.
no outsiders. Yeah, only insiders from the family were allowed to be there. Like none of the beaters could be there.
Right.
Jason's family, because he lives on property, he was a part of it. But anyways, it was just a respect thing,
right?
Which we completely understand.
Yeah.
And so I went and shot muntjac all day long with a muntjac guide.
What's that?
Those are those little small deer that are this tall, and we use thermal scopes.
They're like pigs over there.
They're like a complete nuisance.
Yeah.
And so he's like, "Do you see it? Do you see it?" And I'm like, "Where?" And he said, "Straight in front, about 50 kilometers." And I'm like,
What is that?
Translate that into yards.
Translate it into Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama. And how big is this thing that I'm looking for? Because we're in like thickest of all thick. He's like, you don't see it? You don't see it? I'm like, wait, that rat-looking thing? And he said, shh, go ahead and take it if you get on it. Pow, I take it.
Yeah.
We go out there, and he goes to field dress it, and he takes his pocket knife out of his pocket, cuts a little limb off. It's about this long, about this thick, sharpens it on one end, cuts the leg, and hangs it up like a darn rabbit. And I'm like, what is this? And they said it's a delicacy over there.
Really?
That meat is like phenomenal.
Well, it's good because it's a nuisance, so you can just kill as many as you want.
Go ahead and take them all out.
So let's take that, your hunting experience over there, and bring it back to the U.S. You've been all over the country and hunting a bunch of different, species of waterfowl in the upland and mammals too. But, mammal hunting, I tell everybody, it's for... this is going to get me in trouble.
Go for it.
I tell everybody, deer
back
hunting,
you up.
deer hunting is for the handicapped and the elderly.
That's the truth, though. I mean, anybody can
get a dog,
drive the
get into
Ranger.
wing shooting,
Yeah.
man. I'm telling you, whether it's upland or waterfowl, it's fun, and it's all opinion based, of course. But
It is. Yeah.
that's
No-
what I'm into. But let's
hard feelings.
leave the mammals out of it. Let's talk about where you've been in terms of states, and hell, let's have a list of it, and then where you've hunted with your dog, and what you've hunted for, and what's your favorite? Do you like upland or do you lean waterfowl, or do you like both?
My ideal, before we get into where we've hunted, my ideal situation is to wake up in the morning, go hunt waterfowl, whether it be geese or ducks. It doesn't matter. I love both, very equal. And then come home, eat a nice lunch, take about an hour nap, and then go back out and hunt in the field over some pointers.
Yeah.
Like, that is the perfect day.
Yeah.
And luckily we get to do it one time a year, every year, sometimes twice a year.
Comstock.
But over in Nebraska.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's my perfect hunt.
Yeah.
Both are equal to me because you both involve dog work,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to see the dog do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
But the ideal day would be that.
Yeah. Waterfowl morning,
waterfowl,
field the rest of the day after a good nap.
Yeah. Hey, you got to throw the nap.
I
in
love
there
it too.
because-
Hey, that's what we do in North Dakota on our trip, our annual trip. We do we spend half the trip just upland, and then the other half we do waterfowl and upland. But you always wake up in the morning. Usually, North Dakota is pretty dang easy for waterfowl. So usually you're limiting out or close to it, or you're satisfied, with the hunt in the morning, and then you're able to do upland all day. And hell, if you want to do a sunset waterfowl hunt, you go ahead and do it. But that's a lot of fun.
And it's a lot to pack into a small trip. But that's why you got to throw that nap in there.
Yeah. The nap's good.
Yeah,
man,
because
I'll
you
tell
can't.
what.
Nobody ever goes to sleep when you got 6 to 8 guys in one house. Nobody goes to sleep on time.
No.
It's usually
And nobody hardly sleeps at
2
night.
naps,
It's during
yeah.
during the day is the nap time. Yeah.
So,
But anyway, so y'all do the Nebraska trip, but and you hunt, of course, all over. We're in the Southeast. We're in Alabama.
Yep.
You were born and raised Alabama.
Yep.
And so you probably hunt Alabama more than anything, but you also have done probably Georgia a good bit, Florida,
Mississippi,
Louisiana.
Yep. Arkansas, Missouri.
What'd you do in Missouri? Ducks?
We snow goose.
Oh, okay.
We hunted snow geese, and then we hunted ducks.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to hunt wild birds.
I've heard the
over-
quail
I've heard that.
have a surprisingly good population.
I've heard that, but
and that's relative. Good population is relative.
They say it's a lot harder though because that's in that that flyway where a lot of people go to hunt and ask permission,
Right.
and so a lot of people already have it on lock. It's not like North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, where you can go out there find a landowner.
You're saying it's all leased for the most
Yeah,
part?
it's already locked up,
Yeah.
leased or by permission. It just depends on.
Well, yeah, down here, there's a lot of wild birds on some private land, but good luck finding somebody who's going to let you hunt their private land in the Southeast. I
Exactly.
wish there was more, and they're out there. There's people who will let you do it, but they are few and far between down here.
That's
out
the
there,
struggle.
yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of central location, Texas. You can throw Texas, Kansas.
Yeah.
Haven't been to Oklahoma.
What's the furthest west? Would it be Texas?
The furthest west would be Texas.
Texas.
Yeah, it would be Texas.
Waterfowl out there?
Waterfowl. Waterfowl and turkey hunt.
Oh, cool.
We walked for quail, but we didn't have any dogs, so
Yeah.
that was kind of just
Walk for like scale quail and
yeah,
gambles and stuff.
It was not. I mean, it was not your ideal. I
Right.
was like, give me my dogs.
Yeah.
Give me my dogs back,
Man.
please,
Yeah.
because it's not going to work. not how we were doing it.
I'll quote Frank Healy on this: if it doesn't involve dogs, then it doesn't involve me.
Yeah, I agree with Frank on that.
Yeah, if I don't have my dogs to go out there, and I say that I'm not going to do it, but I'll more than likely not be into it.
Yeah.
Definitely not as much.
Kentucky was really cool. The Rolling Hills bird hunting up there, that was really cool, and those were wild birds.
Yeah.
They were on private ground.
I'd love to do that.
It was,
I have a contact
really
up there that's been telling me to come up to a couple different national forests that he knows. Now, I didn't get the chance to this past year, but I'd love to. My goal for my dogs is to get not every single state, but like as many different states and as many different birds as I can over them. Not as many different birds in terms of quantity, but quality, putting them on birds, as many different species of birds as I can, and really hunt them in as many different states as I can, so that when they ultimately pass away, right, I can look back and be like, dang, that dog hunted here with me, here with me, here with me. We killed all these different species of birds, or not even killed, that dog is pointed or retrieved or just seen all these different species of birds everywhere. It's a really cool thing.
What's up like northeast? So like Pennsylvania area. What bird? I haven't even looked into that.
Ruffed grouse.
So you got ruffed grouse, and then you've also got there was one more.
Woodcock.
Yeah. You got, and that's all the way.
And I'm not sure
northeast?
Yeah, and I would go further than that. The further you go, the better in terms of, so Maine, I would say, and I'm not a huge ruffed grouse hunter. I've only done that a handful of times in my life. But the further you go, Maine, I have a cousin up there who, we try to get together every year. And hopefully this next year with Wings and Things, we'll actually be able to do it, the hunting show we're doing. But that'd be where I'd go for grouse, is Maine,
Right.
And then parts of New Hampshire, Vermont, and places like that. I'm sure Pennsylvania has great stuff, but when I think Pennsylvania, most people I've never hunted there, or I've been there, but I haven't hunted there. But most people talking to me from Pennsylvania, they say it's stocked pheasant, right? So the state puts out pheasant,
I didn't even. That would have never even crossed my mind.
Yeah, so they put out pheasant in wildlife management areas. They stock them, and it's like I don't know if it's a monthly thing or they have some schedule. It's either, I don't know, bi-weekly or monthly or every other month they stock pheasant in these fields. So kind of like how they stock trout in North Georgia, right?
Yeah,
same type deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, woodcock and we got a true wild trout fly fisherman over here giving us the thumbs down on that one. Yeah. But let's see. Yeah, woodcock are really fun to work dogs on because they hold really tight, and they're usually in singles. So it's similar to a single quail. I don't know. Have you hunted woodcock?
No, I've never hunted woodcock, but it's in like thick. It's
in
cover.
riparian areas. So kind of. Areas, I usually find them, if you see cane brakes around like two sloping hills, they're usually right above the cane brakes or something where a stream's underneath, because they have those long bills and they like to dig in the soil.
It's to get soft soil.
Yeah, exactly. Soft soil, right. So they're around riparian areas a lot, and what's really cool is they're migratory. Not a lot of people, it's getting more popular in the southeast, I feel like, but it's still kind of a hidden treasure in terms of dog work. Not a lot of people hunt them, but they are a ton of fun to get on.
I've always wanted to do it, so we might have to.
Oh, I'll take you out. There's a place,
yeah,
10 minutes from me.
Sweet.
You need to just get with me. But yeah,
Sweet.
It's a lot of fun. And this year it was a little bit weird with it being so dry down here. We didn't get hardly any rain in late summer. Early fall or anything, and really late summer's when you need it because it's still a little bit growing season, but we didn't get any rain, so it was dry, so they weren't in the usual spots that I found them in previously, but they still come down, they're still migrating, so if you find them, it's really fun because they're usually in singles, or there might be two together, but together means within like 10 yards of each other. You hardly ever see them get up together, right? So but they're really good for young dogs too, especially. But even old dogs, they're just a fun game bird to hunt.
I've wanted to get in like that thick cover, because hunting the thick cover
that's a challenge. Quail,
yeah, that's what's fun.
Yeah.
Anybody, don't get me wrong, hunting in a nice picture.
It's challenging as it is.
Area where the dogs are pointed in some sage, and it goes up. The birds get up, and you double with an over and under. That's perfect. But getting into like thick cover, is
moving
what's
brush
fun
out of the way.
because like
It adds another challenge.
all of a
adds
sudden,
another element.
Boom, centered a pine tree. Boom,
Yeah.
centered an oak tree, and the whole covey gets away.
Right.
I mean, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. That was fun.
Because that's
I remember
what's a lot of fun.
one national forest, and Ronnie knows what this is. But Ronnie McKinney up there, it's the national. I won't say it, but it's national forest.
Don't say it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, but
too.
I've found quail up there, and all I do now is, since I stopped, I quit guiding. Especially, there's a bunch of different reasons, but especially since, let's see, Trey Atkins sent me a picture of his dog. A friend of mine sent me a picture of his dog laying on the table up at Auburn, shot from a guided hunt. And I was like, you know what? I've been thinking about stopping. I'm done,
Yeah.
And my passion was always wild bird hunting anyway. So now all I do is wild bird hunting.
Right.
And up there where I was talking about, we have found it's really cool. And Ronnie and Chuck both told me they used to only find, or not only, but they found a lot of bobwhites and hardwoods, a lot of hardwoods. And so
hardwoods where a cutover will meet.
Yeah.
Like right there on that line.
Yeah.
That's like.
It's sweet.
Perfect.
I have a video on my phone of there's a fallen down branch, and my two white dogs, two short hairs, Millie and Natty, were on point and honoring, but they were both on point, and it was hardwood. And I forget what you call it. CJ got on to me about this. He's like, it's called something, but it's where, God, what is it? It's like an eco line or something. I don't know. But anyway, there's two pine stands on either side, and there's a hardwood stand in between, right?
Was there?
It's a transition. It's a transition stage
or whatever it is.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There was a creek right there, and then let's see, and there's this fallen branch there, and my dogs are on point. And instead of holding the shotgun, I was walking up my phone because sometimes I'll do that just because it's so much fun to look back at that memory.
Yeah.
You have all these locked in your head, but you look at it on your phone, you're like, dang, that was crazy.
Yeah,
they were
cool.
right there. Wild birds can be in spots that you would never think, and just wild game in general. You have their habits pretty much lined out and what habitat they're going to be in, but there's always these what ifs. I've been surprised so many times at where we've found wild quail, in just different areas.
I've got that reminds me of the first time I ever went to Nebraska hunting wild birds up there, and like Tommy McGilberry, we both know Tommy.
Yeah,
he is phenomenal, like bird dog king up there.
Yeah,
in that area,
knows everybody.
And knows everybody, knows all the landowners.
So he has a ton of access up there for y'all.
Tons of public knowledge, tons of private ground, which is really cool. And so his dog's going point, and we go up and they're like, Tripp, you've never seen this before. You need to go up first. And I'm like, okay, this is fixing to be easy. I'm fixing to smoke them.
This is going to be big old birds.
First flush in Nebraska. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I walk up. The dogs are on point, let's call it 15 yards in front of me. Walk up. I don't even get 10 yards from the dog.
Yep.
And I didn't even shoot. If I had to go to the bathroom, I'd shoot myself. You know what I mean? Birds went everywhere. I was like,
what were y'all finding? Quail or chickens?
Right there, it was quail.
Quail, yeah.
And it was probably a 15 to 30 bird covey. I'm talking about birds went everywhere.
You're just
and they're like, what are you doing, Tripp? And I'm like, I didn't know what to shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, they moved. They were going like this. I didn't expect them. I expected to get, right behind the dog and have to go through kicking and all this BS. But no, I mean, they were going. And I won't ever forget that.
That's awesome.
That's what
That'll
lit
get you
the
hooked.
fire up under you.
Exactly.
That's
enough to get you hooked.
That,
Be like, oh, I need to see that again. I need another opportunity of that.
And we did that. And there have been times, that we've been on a covey and we've shot way too good and taken too many out of a covey. But you don't, growing up as a kid, unless somebody teaches you that, you don't understand that until you get a little bit older.
Right.
Where you're like, hey, the wild quail numbers are down.
Yeah.
Why do we kill, let's call it 4 out of 6.
Yeah.
Let's take it one shot a piece or take one bird a piece.
Yeah.
And let that covey go on and do its thing.
Absolutely.
And now growing up and and I wouldn't say maturing because I'm a long ways from maturing, but growing up.
Hey, just got engaged. Step in the right direction.
Hey, yeah.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. It's going to be a wild ride for her. She just doesn't understand.
She has no
idea.
She may think she does.
Yeah. But anyway, so learning that and being able to take that conservation mindset and putting it over there with the fun and mixing it together. That's what there's a lot of
even if it's a greedy mindset. Like in my mind, when I hunt, there's not a lot of wild bird hunters in the southeast in general. There's not a lot in the country that and then that's true and it isn't. Out west you get more obviously, but southeast wild bird hunters there's not a lot. 9 times out of 10 when I go out, 9.5 times out of 10 when I go out, I don't see any quail hunters. Mostly deer hunters, and mostly, when I usually get intel on where coveys are, it's usually from the deer hunters because they kick them up when they go deer hunt,
Yeah, it scares them to death.
Exactly. And they're like, I just kicked one up over there. I'm like, sweet. All right, whistle the dogs on, go over there. But that's a great way to do it. But in terms of a greedy conservation standpoint, you are probably the only person who knows where that covey is, whether it's on public land or private land, right? You're probably the only person, well, maybe not who knows where it is, but the only person hunting that covey. So manage it, right? So only take, when we get on a covey, we'll only take 2 out of the covey the first time we hit it. Maybe we'll save it for the end of the season again because they usually hang around the same place, right? So we might try to get on that covey again. And it's mostly to get the dogs worked on them. It's not always to kill birds. So sometimes we're not even killing another bird or 2 out of it. But if we want to take another 1 or 2, we only took 2 out of it the first time. So say it's a covey of 12, we kill 4 out of it, leaves 8 to go about its business. The old guys always told me, and I don't know if this was Ronnie or somebody else, but no, this was a local around here. Well, actually, my landlord and his buddy, they were telling us they always, whenever they killed birds around here, they always left 2 hens, 1 cock. And they said they'd come back, but that's what they said.
They were able to see it.
Exactly. Yeah, right, exactly. I'm like, well, I don't know how you measure that, but second of all, they say they always come back the next season. There'd be the same healthy covey there, and I was like, golly, that
would be
risky, but
to be able to, and that's back to the whole Ronnie thing. That's who almost bit me over when I got back, told him that story. He almost was took a fist to my noggin because he was so mad. He was like, "You did what?"
Right.
And I'm like, "Well, we did. We did. We unfortunately we did. And knowing what I know now, it's not. That's you don't go in. Yes, you shot very well,
right.
But that you don't go into it with that mindset because the numbers and growing up. This will be my 10th year going to Nebraska, something like that. The quail numbers and the pheasant numbers have not just dramatically dropped, but you have to walk more. You have to get more involved and get better cover because those numbers are definitely, on the low.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
the cool thing about Nebraska is they can have, all in the Midwest, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, parts of Texas. The numbers out there can be really high some years because, and it's all dependent on mostly rainfall,
water,
but and just and also the winters too. But they have more dramatic changes in climate, I guess you'd say, in weather over the year. The southeast population. And we talked about this with Goldsby, I believe, or Dr. Smith. Dr.
Goldsby and Dr. Smith were
they were talking about this, but
those are the best ones.
And Dr. Smith, especially, even Dr. Goldsby said, Dr. Smith was the quail guy. He studied a lot about bob whites, but they were saying, the southeast, and it makes sense. The southeast has a steady population, right? A steady population because the weather down here is more consistent, right? The weather out in the Midwest is a little inconsistent. Yeah. So when they have a good year, they have a great year. When they have a bad year, it is, you don't even want to be hunting hardly. So
and you can tell. I mean,
absolutely.
When you're out there and you go to a place that usually holds 1 or 2 coveys, and you either see 5 coveys or you see 0,
really?
And you're like, well, hold on a second, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And then you go back and look and see what happened during the summer months, and then or you can tell when you're out there if it's wet or if it's too dry.
Yeah.
It's been dry for months. Then kind of what happened.
A lot of places had a great year this year. My buddy Sam Fulton out there, he is born and raised in Nebraska, and he said last year and this year. There was that one year, I think it was 3 years ago or maybe 4 years ago, that big drought, right?
Yeah.
There's a huge drought in all that area, and even North Dakota and everywhere. But it was all over, and it was horrible. But the following years after that have been really outstanding up there in terms of bird numbers and just hunting, wing shooting in general. It's been great. But, that's the thing. Down here, you're walking around public land or private land, depending on where you are, and if you find 1 covey of wild birds in terms of quail, when we say wild birds down here, we're talking about bobwhite quail, right? So when you find wild birds down here, if it's 1 covey or more, it's a fantastic day. You know, out there you're really looking for multiple covey days. That's not to say it's easy. You know, not in the least bit. You're still wearing through boot leather.
Yeah.
boot leather.
Boot leather.
Boot leather. Boot leather. But you're wearing through it, and man, it's hard. And there are days where you're only finding a covey, but usually you're trying to find more. And out there, you have different species to get on, right? You've got bobwhite quail. You've got chickens. You know, chickens would be cool. Prairie chickens. You've got sharp-tailed grouse, which are one of my favorites. You've got pheasant too. Those non-native invasive pheasant that I hate so much. Everybody's obsessed with them, but I can't stand them. But anyway, you got pheasant too, and then you know you've got all the 5 other species who are the five other native quail species in the U.S. are further out west. I think you can find scaled in Kansas, Oklahoma, parts of Oklahoma, parts of Kansas, and parts of Texas. But you know, besides Bob White, you don't have anything else down here.
No.
You know, you get woodcock again that migrate down, but upland birds. I'm trying to think of upland birds down here. You get snipe down here. Not a ton of people are into snipe hunting, but it's pretty cool. But that's very niche, right? That's not something that usually people work dogs around. Let's see, woodcock. I mean, ruffed grouse. You get ruffed grouse in the southeast, but that's very hard. I know a guy.
A lot further.
Yeah, north.
North.
Yeah, but ruffed grouse north. I know a guy who was able. He chased them a lot last year, and he only saw a few. Didn't get. He said he had like 5 shots off. Nick Yashko. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but he graduated Auburn with wildlife management or wildlife ecology management. So he works for Quail Forever right now. But I'm gonna have him on at some point and talk to him. He's a falconer too.
Really? That'll be really cool.
He's a cool guy in terms of the falconry
That's a
aspect.
small crowd too. That you don't like. I mean, it's growing now. I think just because you can see it more on social media, but like. That was something I always wanted to do, like growing up, is to be able to like go get them and just sit there and watch.
It's pretty
that
cool.
kind of go on.
Especially when you incorporate falconry with dogs, right? How dogs go point them. Dogs go and point them. Bird gets up, the falcon kills him, and the dog's cool with it. You got to train that dog to be cool with the falcon eating the bird, you know. My dogs would tear their ass up.
Right there. If you look at her face, that's from where she was pointing a covey, and then all of a sudden there was a hawk in there, and she lit into it. I mean, I'm talking about lit into it.
Well, if we ever get out there together with Nick, we won't use Sadie.
No, can't do that.
No, but he goes up to North Georgia is the southernmost point for ruffed grouse, the southernmost region, and he has tried his damnedest to get on them. Last year and probably years prior, his parents live up there, but this year he finally harvested, I think, his first one in North Georgia, and they're Project Upland did an article about them. I don't know if it's this year or last year in the past 5 years, but they are the ghosts. They're the ghosts of Georgia, right? Because you just don't see them. They're not around. But you can, if you try your butt off and are willing to not see anything and not be discouraged for a long time, hunt after hunt after hunt, you can harvest ruffed grouse in Georgia, right? North Georgia. But, again, it's just few and far between. So upland birds in the southeast, you know, you're looking at a handful, but it's mainly northern bobwhite quail or king for wild birds, you know. Then you get put out pheasant, put and take pheasant, all that. But let's see here.
I think that's pretty much like everything. I mean, going through school, coming out of school, and us kind of finding, what we're going to do, and
I think it all came.
Role in it.
If you can put a pinpoint on what really got you to where you are, what got you into what you're doing, it all comes back to the dogs, you know.
Yeah.
Like the love of the dog probably took root more than anything for you to be in this industry, you know, over any of the killing aspect or anything like that. So it all comes back to the dogs in the day, or at the end of the day. So, you know, dogging it. That's what we're out here doing. We're just dogging it. But anyway, all right, everybody.
That's all we can do.
That'll wrap it up for dogging it. I think this is episode 4 with Tripp Hodges. Check out D&T Rentals if you need any type of
Heavy equipment rentals.
Heavy equipment.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Good deal. So we'll put their link at the bottom of our description or in our description on the YouTube channel. But Tripp Hodges, great friend of mine. Be on the lookout for the development series that we just released. If you are training your dog at home, whether it's a bird dog or gun dog, which, pointing dog or flushing retrieving dog, we have those training videos on our website. Become a member, one-time purchase, unlimited access. It's a great deal. So check that out on our website, diamondbirddogs.com. Tripp Hodges, D&T Reynolds, wing shooter extraordinaire. Cheers, buddy. That was good. Yeah, we'll get you on wings and things coming up next season.
Oh, that'd be fun.
All right, everybody. We'll see y'all next time.
Adios.